Good evening. Little Luther Vandross action. That was nice right there. Welcome to Last Call Beer Futures, part of the Smithsonian Food History Weekend. Thank you for joining us, and a shout out to Les, the DJ, for setting off on Friday night. And a little Fleetwood Mac was in there, a little bit of everything else. That was awesome. You killed that. I'm Sharpton, a craft beer ambassador, photographer, scribe, entrepreneur, and today, a panel host who resides in Atlanta. Besides tasting beer around the world, what I also love about the industry is the art, innovation, and most importantly, the people. Tonight, our focus is the future of beer. The U.S. has more than 8,000 breweries, yet as craft beer grew, many were excluded, especially women and people of color. Today's brewers face threats associated with the pandemic, the brewing supply chain, climate change, and other challenges. So what does the future hold for the brewing industry? This evening, we're lucky to have with us 4 pioneering women who are collectively helping build innovative, inclusive, and sustainable futures for American beer. They are joining us from across the country, and I would like for them to introduce themselves. Panelists, briefly state what you do, who you are, and where you are right now. Let's start with Latiesha Cook. Latiesha is the co-founder and president of Beer Kulture. What's up, Latiesha?
What's up? How you doing?
Word, good to see you again.
Same, glad to be here. So my name is Latiesha Cook. I am the co-founder and president of Beer Kulture, which is a 501c3 nonprofit in the state of Florida. So a large part of what we do is work to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion within the craft beer space. We do that largely by partnering with select breweries to brew collaborative brews, which then raises funds for the nonprofit. So a lot of the work that we do entails working closely with our communities. So what that looks like, for example, here recently, we launched an initiative called Kulture for the Kids, where we were able to donate 4,300 backpacks filled with supplies to our communities. Also, we have a partnership going on with Cicerone right now. So we are providing scholarships for people to get Cicerone certifications, level 1 and level 2. So a lot of exciting things going on. Just really excited about the work we get to do as a community.
Well, you're killing it. Congratulations on everything you've done, and shout out to the Cook family too. Let's move over to Tiffany Fixter. You're welcome. The owner of Brewability, which is really interesting to me, the Brewability Lab. Can you talk a little bit about what you do? Welcome to the Smithsonian tonight.
Hey guys, how are you? Thanks for joining us. So I am a former special education teacher, and I decided to move into the adult industry as far as services go, and realized that there's really a lack of employment. So I decided to do something that was cool and different. And so I employ adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, including autism, Down syndrome, deaf, blind, cerebral palsy, and terminally ill.
Very dope. And there's a birthday of sorts I saw on your Instagram?
It is our anniversary party right now. I don't know if you can hear it. Hopefully not.
Oh, no. Well, happy birthday to you and many more years of what you're doing. Really, congratulations on what that is that you all are doing.
Thank you.
It's very different and necessary in the industry. Let's say what's up to Diane Gooding, Vice President of Gooding Farms Incorporated, making my favorite flower in the world, hops.
Hey, thanks a lot, Al, and Smithsonian Institute for including me in this really neat event. My name is Diane Gooding. I'm Vice President of Gooding Farms. We are a family-owned and operated hop farm in southwestern Idaho. We're about 45 minutes from the town of Boise and about 20 minutes from the Oregon border. So we've been doing it for a while, and my sisters and I are 6th generation to carry the torch forward into a really interesting and fun-filled future, we hope.
Oh, no, definitely. Thank you for everything. Let's say what's up to Tamil Maldonada Vega, co-founder and vice president of development for Raíces Brewing Company. And that's a fire logo y'all have, by the way. Shout out to Luis.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to show it in a little bit. Hi, Ella, how are you? I'm doing that. It's great to be here with amazing women changing and actually adding into the craft beer industry. And thank you to Smithsonian for actually providing this opportunity to talk about what we are doing. Raíces Brewing Company, or Cervecería Raíces en español. It's about community, culture, and cerveza. So it's about engaging and really having a forefront of the Latino culture, having that value and engaging people from diverse groups and backgrounds to really value who we are. And of course, if I'm talking about Kulture, I have to show some tostones over here. And of course, una maraca. And again, it's community culture and cerveza. So that's the logo that you're mentioning right there.
Yeah,
it's a hub, but it's a mask. And the reason of the mask is because mask in Latin America represents community. So we wanted to represent the community of Raíces. And I'm just happy to be here and talk more in a little while.
I love the props. Definitely. I got to give you one of those shirts for sure. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Hey, your all-day party. I love it. So just to let everybody know what we're doing, we're going to talk about 40 minutes and then take some questions from the audience before we wrap up at 9 o'clock. So that's going to be fun to see what y'all have to say about that. But for those of you tuning in, be sure to share with us what you're sipping using the hashtag Smithsonian Food. I'm an IPA guy, so I'm starting off with this Rolling the Clouds IPA. Rolling the Clouds IPA. Shout out to Finback on making this. You guys are from the Bronx. My dad's from the Bronx, so I had to do that. So I actually want to know what everybody else is sipping on. Come on, y'all. We need some brews and lubricate the palate here. What y'all sipping on? Jump in, whoever.
Yeah, so I'm sipping on City Island. It is a sour IPA by my folks out at the Bronx Brewery. I want to give them a shout out and show them so much love because BX all day. Got to throw it up. It's super nice because I love like a good sour and I love an IPA. And this is giving me a lot of the in-between vibes. So a lot of grapefruit, get some apple kind of in there. It's got a nice little tart, but not a lot. It's dope. It's good. It's fire.
I love the breakdown. Shout out to the Boogie Down. What you sipping on, Tiffany?
I have the Plain Bee Farm Carnet. It is awesome. It has nice horse blanket notes, good tartness from the cherries, and all around well-balanced wild ale. Cheers.
All right. Cheers to you. What you got there, Diane?
Hey, so props out to our folks at Talea. We work pretty closely with them. They're up-and-coming brewer, kind of in planning. But they have a hazy that just came out, Power Couple, that features some of our hops from our farm, Citra, namely, and just a really beautiful beer. I tasted it a little earlier and that thing, beautiful mouthfeel, really nice tropical finish, lemon tart, mango, pineapple. I mean, if you're looking for the tropics in the middle of a New York snowstorm, that's like perfect.
That's the word. Okay, cool. And what you got there, my buddy? Tamil.
Oh, look at this. Look at this label. It's beautiful. So I have the Rise Up. And it's American Rye Saison. And it's from Gun Hill Brewing. Look at this color. Very, very beautiful. And it has rye, but it's subtle. It's subtle. It's really good to drink. A lot of drinkability on it. And it's just really, really nice texture and color. And I really loved it when I tried it. So, salud.
There you go. This is the best social lubricant, in my opinion, and salute to everybody and everybody joining us tonight in the Smithsonian. Thank you, and all the breweries that provide us these lovely brews. Let's get down to do it. Let's get down to business here because we got to try to get a lot in and get this audience informed on what's happening nowadays. I get this question a lot, and I'm sure you do too, especially when being involved in a white male-dominated industry. How did you get started in the beer industry and make it a significant part of your life as a way of living? Let's start with Tamil.
So I started in 2016. So I'm pretty new in the craft beer industry. We opened Raíces in 2019, last year. And then, of course, facing the COVID-19. The way that I started is because I feel that the craft beer industry and community, they are really inclusive, and they really like to have each other's back. And I've been part of the self-managed and cultural organizations, and I wanted to do something within the craft beer community that highlight Latino culture, that Latinos actually identify with the space, with what we are doing, but also being very inclusive in a way that other people will engage, and it will be kind of a door for them to see a little bit of our stories, our culture, and our communities. So I thought that we needed a Latino brewery right here in Denver, Colorado, that showcase Latino culture, community, and so on, bringing that space for visibility for artists, for food trucks, for artisans, for small businesses. And that's what we do. We do a lot of programming around that. And that's the part that I developed, the pieces of community and culture. And of course, everything is around the product of beer. So this is our vehicle to have all these different flavors and activities and events at the space.
No doubt. Well, congratulations on everything you're doing. I've heard a lot about you, so it's a pleasure to meet you finally in person. Let's see what Tiffany has to say with this question. I'd love to hear what you want to answer with this.
Yeah, so I actually moved to Colorado to run an adult day program. So after children in special education age out of the school system at 21, they need to go somewhere. And so I ran this day program, and I was pretty sad to find out that only 1 out of 130 of my clients had a job. It was very part-time. They just didn't have a lot of confidence, and I wanted to do something that was cool and different. I happened to work with a home brewer, and figured out that it was a very systematic, repetitive job. And I think it's perfect for people on the Asperger's end of the spectrum. And so I just kind of modified it from there, and we tried it out. And now it's, I went from being fired for lack of creativity to a full-blown business 4 years later.
One door closes, another one opens. So that's awesome.
That's right.
Yes. What's up with Latiesha? What's up? Let's talk about what you have to say about this.
Yeah. So for me, beer started in 2011. We had a son. His name was Joshua. He passed away that year. And so my husband, was looking for something to drink and had a craving for beer, odd because he never was a beer drinker. And so he invited me along to kind of sample some Guinness with him. And it was like, yeah, this is disgusting. Want absolutely nothing to do with it. And he kind of, kept trying to push and find things that I would be interested in. And so ultimately, I started to find beers that I liked. I started with fruit beer. And then that turned into lambics and then sours and IPAs. So over time, my palate started to grow. And so when you start to Google, hey, where are some places where I can go and enjoy some good beer? We found that there were these places called breweries. Wow, what is that? So we started frequenting breweries and kind of, just seeing what the scene was like. Lo and behold, when you visit those spaces, a lot of times you don't see people who look like you. And so when that was our experience, a lot of the time we just stopped going. It was like, yeah, this doesn't feel like a place where I want to be, but I enjoy beer. And so that's how beer culture was born. We would literally just get beer and pack a car and drive out into the neighborhood and get people to sample craft beer. And so we began to speak out about that, hey, why isn't craft beer in the places where we live? Why isn't, craft beer marketed to us? We love it. It's great. And so there you have it.
Very cool. And I love your logo, by the way. I'm a man of love design. And what kind of beer is that in your logo, by the way?
Thank you. So it's not a type of beer in the logo, but I do want to focus on the Teku though, because it is my absolute favorite glass and I will geek out over the Teku. This is a great glass for any style of beer. And I will argue that with anybody. You can put any style of beer in this glass and totally enjoy it. It's great.
Dig it, dig it. Diane, you mentioned a lot about family, which is really cool. Can you kind of elaborate on that and how you got started and keeping the business going with the farms?
Yeah, no. So our family, we're very blessed in that we, it's a multi-generational business. Kind of how I first got into beer, really born into it. But Dad always has this funny story that him and his buddies would be watching football on a Sunday night. And, there was that little gap between the couch and the wall. And I'd crawl between the couch and the wall and take little sips off of their beers that were kind of set on the floor. The end table or what have you. So from a young age, I was, obviously once they found that out, they kind of put an end to that, but just kind of a funny little tidbit story. And I actually left the farm for a number of years and moved to the Bay Area. And really that's kind of where I learned about craft and about all the different types of beer and flavors and sours and lambics. And I mean, oddly enough, the first brewery tour I ever did was in Belgium. And I just kind of stumbled on Cantillon and it was like, wow, I had no idea that there was beer this complex. And it reminded me of wine almost. So 2010, I moved back to the farm sort of to help Dad out with bills and different things. And lo and behold, here I am 10 years later. And we're kind of the farm's thankfully expanded and can support both, our family as well as my two sisters are back full time on the farm. And we have a great team behind us. And we grow about 14 different cultivars commercially, as well as it within about 900 acres. We're looking at diversifying a little bit into some other crops to help the hops as well and rotating things. And we'll kind of get into the future of that as we move through the panel here. So really excited and just a fun opportunity and just feel really honored to be with all these ladies and it just really neat.
Well, we share the same story there on trying beer very young, but do you remember that first beer that you had to sip of?
No.
I was Miller High Life. I was a champagne of beers. My first one. My uncle gave me a sip when I was 6 and thought I was going to spit out, say it was gross, but actually liked it. So beer's always been a part of my life. What you got to say? You got something, Latiesha? I think she's about to say something. What about you? You guys remember your first beer? Anybody else?
I remember my first beer.
What is it?
Well, it's a mass-produced beer, but the importance of my first beer was that it was with my father.
That's deep. There you go.
It's a family value over there when you try something with the family and the people that you love.
There you go. I was with my uncle, so there is family. We'll get to your other first beer later on, Latiesha. Let's go and move on to get deep a little bit and talk about really what's important and how we need to address this in order to make a better future, the challenges we're dealing with now. Can some of you elaborate on what you're dealing with and those obstacles that we have to get over collectively, as well as just yourself with your businesses? We can start with Tiffany.
I guess mine is just the comfort level. Not a lot of people necessarily know that we employ people with disabilities when they come in. And then, I get the questions, is it safe to drink there? Is it safe to eat there? Are they being clean? There's just a lot of, I have some people that just straight up walk out and they say, wow, I don't want to be where people with disabilities are. And so there's a lot of judgment as far as the fact that they think that they're like children and they shouldn't be around alcohol and that we're enslaving these people that can't make decisions for themselves when they don't really see like how much they've grown. And, not everyone that works for me drinks, they just have to be able to describe the beer. They're allowed to ship beer just like everyone else, according to their doctor. But it's just the judgment is pretty harsh, and I've been in different neighborhoods, and it's been tough no matter where we are.
Wow, that's it's sad to hear that kind of thing. There's a lot of ignorance out there, but we all will hopefully open our minds with what's going on. What about you, Tamil? What challenges are you dealing with?
Our challenges have been in diversifying the craft beer industry for people of color or underrepresented groups in the industry. And that's one of the main reasons we actually opened this brewery in the way that we did it. There are other Latino owners, but they haven't put up front the cultural piece. And I think that makes us unique in providing that value that is so needed right now in our society and in the U.S. that it has been devalued. And of course, ownership. Right now, we are less than 0.5% of Latino-owned breweries. We only know about 42 breweries that has at least a partial owner to be a Latino out of the 8,200 in the national arena. And I think that's a challenge for us. Another challenge for the Latinos is they're really attached to imported beers. However, we are, Raíces is kind of a solution of feeling proud of something that is right here in the U.S. and that they're providing craft beer and really taking into account not only the product and the quality of the product, but also what makes us, our culture, and what is the need of the community to be supported. And I think that will speak to many people in the Latino community, as well as in the general community, having that perception of what is really to be a Latino or a Hispanic person. So,
real quick, why do you think that is about our very small representation, especially with owning breweries? Is it hard to get loans? There are a lot of questions that are out there. Is it the interest? Is it just what is it? What do you say about that?
So I would say that a lot of the accessibility in all senses, resources, knowledge. Our brewer, for example, at Raíces, is a Latino from Puerto Rico like me. And he started learning by himself because he wanted to learn. He wanted to be into the craft beer. But there wasn't like a program like you see it right now in the universities, right? A program or that accessibility. And even right now, that accessibility, it doesn't happen everywhere. Yeah. And of course, the struggle with finances, and that's across the border, not only in the beer industry, but ownership for people of color is very hard. And it's part of what is a systematic way of doing things. And I think that that's one of our main goals in Raíces, is pointing that out and preparing that pipeline in the craft beer industry. Who can come in there, and that's why we have internships and all of that. So it's important for us to bring awareness of our need of being visible in different areas in the craft beer industry.
That's what's up. Latiesha, how are you, sweetheart? What do you have to talk about in terms of the challenges of what's going on right now? With you,
so I definitely piggyback off of what was just stated. It's extremely hard for people of color to get in. A large part of what we're doing right now to kind of create that pipeline is we started a job board, which allows people of color to apply for positions that are opening up at breweries right now. And so what that does is get us in the door. We've been having a hard time with that. I know, and I've heard the stories over and over again. I applied, but I was told, no, I don't fit the culture here. And so a lot of, what we do and why we call ourselves beer culture is because we've got to change the culture. The culture isn't no longer, white bearded men. There are people everywhere who enjoy craft beer, and it should be a space for everybody to enjoy freely. And I say freely specifically because a lot of times, you know, when people of color come in, if you act a certain way or you talk a certain way, you'll be accepted. But freely, you should be able to be yourself. And so I'll come to work and I'm going to be Tish. And the same thing for anybody who comes into this space, they should be welcome to do so. And so, you know, we just have to create spaces where people can come in and be who they are, and be welcomed and accepted 100%.
That's what's up. Let's move on about hops now. And Diane, what do you have to say about your challenges? I get a little shook when I hear about hop shortages and things of that sort. So you're a great source to let me know I can rest at ease, hopefully.
Yeah, this year, as I think everybody can appreciate and agree with, 2020 has been a really challenging year. And that is true for the growing season as well. You know, in farming, our challenges are oftentimes a little different. There's a lot of things that are totally outside of our control, the weather, you know, environmental factors, what have you. And it's really trying to stack the deck to your favor so that those are less impactful, you know, reducing runoff and erosion. And in general, farmers can oftentimes get a little bit of a bad rap. So us trying to buck that trend, you know, we kind of come across some resistance sometimes, even with our neighbors or even internally, you know, deciding, well, what's the best fit or direction or change or, you know, future for the farm. So that's kind of on the farming side. And, you know, in the Pacific Northwest, which is predominantly the main growing area in the U.S. where hops are grown, roughly like 95%, I believe, of the U.S. hop crop is grown in Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. And within those three states, there's one farm in each state that is owned and operated by a woman. So we kind of have this little group, which is kind of neat. We get to, you know, sort of trade stories back and forth. But so that's something that is not always necessarily challenging, but definitely unique. And I think in general, women in ag and we're, you know, there's more and more coming up. And I think a lot of the younger generation too, ag is becoming more popular and there's more of a future there because it's changing. And I think the next generation coming up is really appreciative of that. And I think we're going to really see some neat changes in trending, not just in hops, but in other crops as well that support environmental sustainability, carbon sequestration, and making this planet a better place. Because us being with the land and working with it, we have a great opportunity to have a really positive impact on the future.
Right on. That's good to hear. Congratulations to all of you on what you're doing. And I congratulate you because I want to know also what are the successes that you all have experienced? What is rewarding to you in the business that you do? You can start with Tamil.
I'll say for me, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, good. No, we're good. Latiesha. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I'll say for me, just, you know, being able to get those emails from people where they're like, hey, I found a job on your job board and, you know, I got an interview. Or, hey, you know, I found a candidate on your job board and we hired them and we love them and they're doing great. A lot of that for me, like that's the success, because again, you know, just going back to remembering that time where people weren't getting jobs or opportunities to even to sit down in an interview. So having people actually respond positively to the job board by, you know, posting and uploading resumes and then actually being able to place people is amazing. I am thrilled that we're in this space right now where people are actually getting work.
And Tish, especially for the Black experience, one of the things that people talk about is lack of representation in terms of applying to jobs that are in the brewing industry. That does make sense. We need to have more awareness with that. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, it's something that we do need to push a little more for. But what about Tiffany? Can we talk about a little bit of your successes and rewards?
I think the biggest thing is just seeing how confident my staff is. They've grown so much, and they've gone from, when I first interview them, they think all they can do is clean or bag groceries, and now they know they can work up to be an assistant manager. They can brew beer, they can be bartenders, and they're the life of the party. And everybody that comes in knows their names, and they're the cool kids here. So it's really great on that aspect. And then as far as my customers go, just seeing how people come in and, maybe they're a little uncomfortable, and then all of a sudden they feel really accepted, and they feel safe here. So it's just, we've cultivated this environment where we're just this little community that loves everyone, no matter what age, race, ability you are.
And do opportunities kind of exist outside of what you're doing with these employees that you have?
You mean are there other jobs for them?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like have they pursued other kind of careers in the brewing industry? Any that have worked with you?
I do have one assistant brewer that did move on to be the head brewer of another brewery.
Wow. Wow.
That was kind of the hope originally, but a lot of mine need a lot more support than that, a lot more ongoing support weekly, a lot of reminders and breaks and timers. It's a lot more than, so some of them will have their entire life. So I have a lot of lifers on staff.
Well, you're doing a lot for their lives, and I appreciate that. Diane, you going to talk about your rewards?
Yeah. So, we've talked a fair bit about family, which that's such a challenging and but also can be really rewarding environment to work with, the people you're related to. But, beyond that, our successes, we really are strive to be innovators. So not just within farming practices, we have our own variety that we've developed, and our marketing, and some of the proceeds from that are going to go back to additional hop breeding and potentially some scholarships for, the next generation coming up. As much as possible, moving towards natural production and less reliance on synthetics and all the, pesticides and the things that get in our streams and rivers and what have you. That has really been a huge focus for the farm, and we're really proud that we're moving in that direction pretty solidly. We still have our, misses here and there, but we are moving to some organic certification, and that's a really challenging arena in hops oftentimes because of the factors, the weather and things that you can't control. But some other really neat successes on the farm were Global GAP, which is global good agricultural practices. It's a food safety program, and it kind of helps us, take things from beginning to end and know that the hops that we're supplying to everybody, the brewers and what have you, that, those are the best that we can do for the environment as well as our end users.
Tamil.
Yes.
Let's go. What you got?
We are very excited. A couple of different things. One, we believe that we are nailing our pillars, community, culture, and cerveza. When people from the public and the people that actually engage in the brewery, they come and they say, hey, is Latinos, they say, I feel home. I feel that I'm at home, that I can be myself, that I can be valued. I can identify with this space and what we are doing. For other people that are not Latinos, they're having a raíces experience, and that's how they actually say it. Having the opportunity to be open-minded to receive other cultures, other ways of activities, and I think that those things for me it talks a lot because that's what we wanted to provide for the community. In terms of having that community culture and service in a higher level and really presenting Latino owners. We did our first Suave Fest in 2019, where it's about highlighting the brewers and the breweries that are Latino owned. And in the first one, we have 10 different participants. And hopefully for 2021, hopefully that COVID-19 gets resolved, is going to be getting bigger. And really talking about national aspects, and then even including Latin America, and the Caribbean into this festival, and really providing that space where people can be highlighted of what they have been doing and talking about their struggles, their barriers, all of that, but in a celebration way, in a very celebrative way. And I think that for this year, we have had 3 different awards that I believe it has been also telling us that that we have been accomplishing what we wanted to have as a goal. One of them is the best new taproom brewery from Westwood. That's a popular vote, so that's people just voting for that. And then we got the Governor Small Business Award this year, which is from the state. And then we also, thank you, just received the Downtown Denver Partners Award, which is within businesses in Denver. And that's very competitive as well. So I think that those steps, we get inspired by them, and we want to continue our journey to provide this space that is so needed for our communities.
Very good, man. Congratulations on all those. We have a few minutes left before we go into the audience questions. And we're talking about the future of beer in the industry. So if you can kind of quickly, maybe a minute apiece, kind of just say what you want the future to be and what do you think we could do to make it that way? Just dive in. Tish, you want to go?
Look, I want the future to be as bright and as colorful as the beer that we love. When you think about beer in general, you think about just all of the different styles, all of the different flavors. The craft beer industry can be exactly like that. And so that's what I'm hoping for at the end of the day, to walk into a brewery and, I see everybody just, having a good time, connected and being themselves and enjoying just being in the space. I think we can get there. I'm hopeful that we can get there. And the way that things are going, it's looking like we're getting there. So,
hey, let's hope. Let's hope. Diane, you're going to dive in. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No worries. We're, as the farm moves forward, just being involved with other women's groups, women in ag, and there's just so many opportunities for youngsters coming up and just helping kind of breed a community sense for the future and for not just hops, but ag in general. That's really been a focus on the farm. We do a bunch of stuff with 4-H, and my sister Michelle has really been a proponent of trying to instill our values in the next future farmers, and really teaching them that it's not just about X, Y, and Z and money and different things. There's so much opportunity to learn and then pass that forward or pass that into the community and support the whole network. We really, really strive to do that as women in an industry that, is very heavily male dominated. Just give people the idea that, this is possible. Dad never said, oh, because you're a girl, you shouldn't be a farmer. He said, yeah, come on back. I'd love to have you. And that's, we need to put that message forward to other folks that think, oh, well, I can't do it because of this or because of that. And that's not the case. If there's desire and will and drive, then they should pursue that. And maybe we can help.
Right on. Diane? You good?
Yeah.
That was Diane. I'm sorry. Tiffany.
Hey, so
Diane, you're good.
I appreciate this panel. I think that beer should be inclusive and diverse and sustainable, but also needs to be authentic. I know there's a lot of people that want to jump on the bandwagon. You have to have a passion. This is not just some glamorous job. Trust me, I was out there hauling propane and scooping poop. So it's not glamorous. There's not a lot of money in it. You have to really want to do it. And so just keep that in mind. It's not, if you're thinking to do it, you need to truly have a passion for it.
You gotta have the passion. Absolutely. And Tamil.
Yes, I agree with all of them. Authenticity is one of the things that is going to take you as a unique brewery, a unique establishment. You need that right now because with so many people and so many breweries, you need to be having a niche. Also, I would say, like Latiesha, diversity, but I see it in a way that we need to be more integrated, having those spaces where it can get to a real integration. And I think that the craft beer industry can be vital in this. The community itself can propel for providing these spaces where people interact with each other. And I think that in an informal way, we can actually create that vibe within our community, not only about the Latino that I've been talking about with Raíces, but also women, LGBTQ, underrepresented groups, having that space and having that space for the pipeline to get into the industry, but also having the space for the general society to get integrated in activities, events, and programming that we provide. And I think that they could be really engaged.
Absolutely. Let's jump into some questions real quick from the audience. One that's really interesting is with the explosion and the growth in craft brewers, many are located now in ethnic communities. How do you define and reach out to your target markets? Tamil, you want to start with that one?
Sure. So to our target markets in our case are professionals, Latinos, beer lovers, food lovers, people that hustle, that want to provide something different, people that are trying to do their own thing and creating their dreams come true. I think that we can be an inspiration for that, and we have had the space to actually talk with people on how to be an entrepreneur and how to, go A, B, C, D, so you can actually get what you are wishing to get. So it is very important to really continue to build this.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to jump in on that?
I think that, everybody's in, social media and this and that. And I think that's a really powerful tool for, obviously there's a lot of misinformation out there, but it's also a really neat and exciting way to share really good information and the stories of your successes and your failures. I think it's important for, as we're talking about authenticity, to share, what's going on, good, bad, or indifferent.
There was a question about Smithsonian food. That is the hashtag, Smithsonian. And that's what you guys look up for. And then we'll go in from there. We're going to move on. Could we talk a little bit about a little more of the challenges? A lot of people are asking about that. Is there a little bit of ignorance you're dealing with, especially Tish and Tamil, about your culture and those kind of things? And how do you kind of handle that?
Absolutely. I know when we first started this journey, a lot of the conversation was, Black people don't even like beer. Why would we market to them? And that was ignorant on this behalf. I'm like, hey, here I am, a Black woman, and I go and I enjoy and I spend my $5 per can without a problem. A lot of the misconception was, hey, I don't think that, these people can afford this kind of beer. And it's like, people can afford the things that they value. So if you present it in a way to where people value this product, they'll spend the money on it. So that was a large conversation that we had to overcome at first. I think in large, that's still a conversation that we're having because I can't go to the corner store and buy the beer that I like. I have to drive miles away from where I live in order to find, good beer. And so I think we're getting there, but I think that's a large part of the conversation that we need to continue to have and kind of cross those bridges as to where we are intentionally marketing to people of color. And so, that was a large part of the ignorance. It is absolutely a misconception. I think we all need to kind of become educated as to, really get some real-time numbers on, the Black people or Black African-American, other Indigenous, BIPOC, all of those people, the amounts or numbers that actually enjoy craft beer, because to say that none do is far-fetched.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my case, in our case, it's a lot about education. It's about providing information about the beers that we are creating. It's about even like, hey, look at the grains, look at the hops, look at the, so people know what are the materials that you're using for the production. And to us, it's also about programming. A lot of the programming engage people that that's their attraction. And then when they get to the brewery, they get to know a lot more. And I think that that's very important to give the opportunity for them to explore and experience something else. When they get to Raíces, usually we ask them, what do you like to drink? And it doesn't have to be a beer. Like, what do you like to drink? What are the tastes that you like? And from there, we can actually suggest some of the beers that we have on tap. And I think that we need to do that for the different public that we are receiving.
Kind of the bridge on that, and this is really for you and Tiffany. What brew styles are really popular in your place of business?
We have a variety. So people of all ages and abilities come here. So a lot of people don't know if they even like beer. So if you're a wine drinker, it's really good to turn them on to a sour or a saison. And we let everyone sample anything before they buy it. So that way they can be educated. I think that is really important. And we have a very simple system. We don't actually name any of our beers. They're all by color. And the color coordinates to the style because most of our staff are non-readers.
That's very interesting, actually. Can you build on that a little bit, Tamil?
Yes. So in our case, La Raíz, for example, is a Mexican lager. People really like that one, especially Latinos, because it's very light. It's something that they can, if they have used like mass-produced beer, they actually get into Raíz, but ours has a little bit of more flavor into it. And I think that they really like that one. Another one is Manguito, with mangoes. Is not it's a fruit beer, but of course it's not a juice. So it's a beer. And people really like that. Another trendy one is Daydreaming with a hazy IPA, which is a trend in US of having hazes. And Cafecito is another one, is small coffee, Cafecito. Because a lot of people like coffee and Latinos like a lot of coffee. So it's a surprise for them because it's a blonde ale. So it's not like a porter or a dark beer. So it's a surprise for them, but it has the aroma and the taste of the coffee. And the coffee is from Guatemala, from women harvest. And so the whole process goes through women. And then comes to us, and then we do cafecito.
And it has to be really fun to pair cuisine with your beers, correct? I know you love doing that.
Yes, that's
I wanted to move.
Sure.
There's so many different flavors and spices and all these other things. That's what I love about when people talk about diversity of beer. It's not just the beer, it's the diversity of the culture and the flavors that we can all bring to it. So, and beer is one beverage that can almost emulate any flavor. So that's always a fun experiment to do as well. With you, Miss Diane, you really are important with this one because beer future. What styles do you think are going to be really kicking in gear going into 2021 and beyond? I know that IPAs are huge, but what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing from kind of the sales side, which can oftentimes be a little bit of a, harbinger of things to come, still the citrus beers, obviously the hazies are really popular. There has been a little bit of talk of some even newer brewers going back like to that Mexican lager style, or maybe spin-offs from the lager or a pale ale style. So really excited to see what innovations we're going to see within those kind of style groupings. But IPA is still the dominant type of beer in the market. It seems like, at least from what we, who we deal with and what we're kind of hearing word on the street. And I don't know if some of the other ladies might have some more insight in there. It's a little tough just because we are a little separated from the end user because we don't brew beer. But IPAs look to be strong, and I'm not sure what other folks might think of that.
I'd love to hear it. Anybody else want to jump in on that one about the future of beers as far as styles?
So in our case, it has been even cocktails with beers, like the Biermosa. We have 4 different flavors of the Biermosa, and people just go crazy about that. And I think it's because of the fruitiness that actually entitles. There are other people that are getting more into seltzers and other stuff that are like really clear, right? Low calories and stuff like that. And I think that's another trend as well.
It is.
But we like to keep it spicy. Right now, we just did a beer release called Cosecha, Harvest. Usually in the beer industry during this time, they do the pumpkin beer, and we wanted to have something different. But again, related to harvest, we collaborated with an organization in a neighborhood that is close to us, that they do the sustainability of nutrition for their community, and we get the poblanos and the pastillas chilies, and we make this beer that we just released. And I think that it's important for us also to have those collaborations with organizations for their sustainability.
All right, one quick question, and then after you answer this question, tell how people can reach you and support what you're doing moving forward. What is that deserted island beer that you don't have to name a brand, but at least the style that you would like if you were on that island? Let's start with you, Tish.
If I was on an island, I would want a Belgian beer. Belgian beers are usually ales. They are wildly fermented and yeasty, and I'm a bread girl, so I really enjoy my Belgian beer. So any brewery, don't care if it's Belgian, I want it. That's what I want with me.
Strong, though, or kind of on the lighter side, ABV-wise? What are you thinking?
Light. So, it depends on the day I had. Mostly light, though.
That's awesome. And then how can people support you and reach you?
Yeah, so people can support us at www.beerkulture.com. When you spell culture, spelled it with a K. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Beer Kulture as well.
Tiffany, you're up.
I'd have to say anything that's like a fruity saison. We have a ginger lime saison, so you can drink it all day, but it's still a high enough ABV that if I'm on an island and there's still a pandemic, I'd be feeling all right.
I think we all want to be on an island right now, to tell you the truth. But yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you just reach me at brew-ability.com.
There you go. All right, Diane, what's up?
So this was one of the prep questions, and I really went back and forth because I love beer. And it depends on the day, you know. I was like, well, if it's hot, then I'm going to want, you know, a lager or pale ale. If it's cold, then maybe a winter warmer or a stout. But I think overall, pale ale is where I started and sort of starting to appreciate craft beer. And that's still kind of my standard go-to, you know, a mid ABV, mid IBU, just easy drinker. And it can go with about any sort of situation. So there's a lot of great pale ales out there. And I know that's kind of maybe not the most creative answer, but that's what I like.
I meant to ask you about experimental hops and how that's a big thing going on right now, and people doing hybrids and all these crazy things, and it's very big in the cannabis market as well. But you know, a lot of people know that these are cousins. What do you think about that, really quick, about what's going on with that hop kind of movement?
Yeah, so you know, as consumer trends are constantly changing all the time, the most consistent question that we get as a farmer and our customers, the dealers, you know, what's new? What's the next thing? Or what's the next flavor? What's the next, you know, hop? And so there's a lot of really interesting hops out there. We have our own new varietal, Idaho Gem, which is really kind of tropical, sometimes raspberry, sometimes gummy bears. Cashmere is another new one that's a public variety that's Fruit Loops and you know, kind of tutti fruity. So there's some, you know, really neat and exciting varieties that will really be available to brewers anywhere because all growers can grow them. And that's kind of, you know, one thing that have always been really supportive of is the public breeding program that is not as controlled. There's quite a few private varieties, which we also love to farm those as well. Your citrus and mosaic, and those are beautiful hops as well. But we hope to see more trending and movement a little bit towards these hops that are really available to anyone and everyone. And that's something that with our, albeit private variety, we're trying to make it price accessible and grown in a diversity of areas so that really anybody, it's, you know, everybody's hop. It's not just for a select set of, you know, if you're a regional or larger or the big brewers, you know, the hope is to get some of these publics and as well as our variety all throughout, big, large, small, here, there, and everywhere.
Definitely. Thank you. Tamil, we need that desert, not desert beer, but really an island beer. It could be desert too. You got to be thinking about deserts, but island beer. And then also, how can people reach you? And then make sure you give that shout out to Diane, how people can reach you.
Yeah, so I'm from an island. I'm from Puerto Rico. So
hey.
You mentioned an island. I transported my mind to over there. And I'm with Latiesha. It depends on what day, like what time. And I'll choose a different style. And I think that's the beauty of craft beer, to actually have different styles for different occasions. If I'm in the beach, I would like to do like a Mexican lager, in our case, Raiz, or a Sun Valley blonde ale, something light. But if I'm at home and it's raining, I would love to have a Belgian kind of the wheat. Yeah, and then if it's at night, I would like a beer wine. We have Armonía, which is a beer wine, and it's just delicious. So, yeah.
So you got a whole cooler on this deserted island. I like that.
I know.
I'm not that the way you think. I would love a cooler too. And then how can people reach you and support you?
Yes, so you can actually reach out to www.raizesbrewing.com. That's our website. You can actually connect through there, or you can write to us to Hola, HOLA, Hola like hello, at raizesbrewing.com.
Very cool. And Diane, I want to make sure you gave a shout out to how people can reach you as well and support you.
Yeah, thanks for that. So we have a website, goodingfarms.com, and that has links to all of our partners as well as some of our community involvement projects. And what we've got going on the farm. So goodingfarms.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram under that, as well as our hop varietal at Idaho Gem on Instagram. So definitely check in. We've always got fun updates and tidbits and, stuff past, present, and futures. Really kind of a fun way to connect with the communities and everybody within beer.
Well, on that note, we're going to do a toast and thank you. Congratulations to all of you. This is a panel of very pioneering women we need to support. And thank you, Smithsonian, for having this very important discussion. I'm Ale Sharpton, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this. So salute to everybody. And I want to shout the breweries real quick. Yes, salute, definitely. Plan B, Carne, Finback, Gun Hill, Bronx Brewery, City Island. They had the City Island Sour IPA, Fifth Hammer, and Talia Beer Company, Italia Beer Company. So shout out to all of them representing the NY. And I want to definitely turn it over now to say goodbye to Teresa McCullough from the Smithsonian. She's going to say goodbye. And thanks again, everybody, for everything. This has been awesome. And keep drinking and supporting craft beer, y'all. God bless. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ale. Good evening. I am Teresa McCullough, curator of the American Brewing History Initiative. Before we say goodnight this evening, I want to say a huge thank you to Latiesha, Tamil, Tiffany, Diane, and Ale for an awesome conversation. You really helped us understand what the future of American beer can be and will be in many respects, thanks to all of your expertise and hard work. I also want to thank Les, the DJ, for helping us all start our evening on a high note. I want to thank Halftime Beverage for shipping more than 160 boxes of New York State craft beers around the country. And I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. In the future, we will clink glasses again, but until then, how wonderful for us at the museum to welcome so many more of you in this virtual space than we could even welcome in our museum theater. Finally, I want to thank the Brewers Association. Their generous donation made this public program possible, as well as all the research and collecting work I do at the museum. The beer industry in the United States provides hundreds of thousands of jobs, and the vast majority of American breweries and brew pubs are small businesses. So wherever you live, please continue to support your local, small, independently owned breweries and all the small businesses in your community. They are all working so hard right now, and they are relying on all of us for our support. Food History Weekend continues all day tomorrow with a full slate of deep dish dialogues and cooking up history programs. So please visit foodhistoryweekend.si.edu to see the full agenda and participate. And with that, I'm going to say have a wonderful evening. Be well and cheers.